Manx Radio Sport.
A very good evening and welcome once again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard here with you until 6:30pm to take a look at the latest sporting stories and looking ahead to the latest action this weekend. Coming up tonight, is there a crisis for referee recruitment in Manx football? We hear from two serving refs about the situation. FC Isle of Man kick off their new season on Manx soil on Saturday night against Wythenshawe Town. We hear from the Manx side's manager. The Isle of Man women's T20 cricket squad are embarking on two big international events over the next week. And with around 1 month to go, what's the outlook for the upcoming new Isle of Man rugby season? That is all to come this evening. Well, we start tonight with football and we start with a question. Is there a referee recruitment crisis in the local game? The Isle of Man FA is renewing efforts next month to get more signed up as officials in the Manx leagues, as numbers have dwindled again over the past year. But this isn't a new issue in Manx football, and with several experienced referees calling time on their roles in the past 12 months, how acute is the situation right now? Rob Slinger and Tom Halliwell are two active referees in the local game. I spoke with them this week to find out how they feel about the situation and also what could happen if it isn't addressed in the near future.
I think there is a massive concern at the moment because there's 15 consistent referees. There's some coming and goings. We've lost a few this season. Massive loss in Dave Kelly. Willie Cowley stepping aside. Anthony Page also is a big loss. John McCallum possibly a loss as well. So that's another few active referees that have stepped aside, which is going to cause struggles on a Saturday for filling fixtures.
And Tom, just on that, the fact that there will be a smaller pool again of Isle of Man referees as it stands, I mean, what kind of strain does it put on the likes of both of you sat here and the others in terms of having to make almost every game?
Well, we have to do 2-3. I might have to end up doing 2-3 games a week, which is fine for us. But at the same time, it's not just about how many games you have to do in a week. It's about whether the games can be covered. Some of the games on the Saturday, we've got 20 games. We don't always have 20 referees. Sometimes the clubs, we could see this season where the clubs start having to put in an auxiliary referee. That there is no referees. So that's where the real problems start.
And Rob, you've mentioned a few names already of those who were stalwarts of the game, really, who've since moved on from the role. Why are we not seeing immediately, I guess, more coming forward and taking an interest and maybe starting to get qualified in the game?
I don't think there's been, as I've seen over the time, a massive recruitment drive. And I think my personal thing is I think people are scared of it. People I've spoke to have said, I would do it, but I just can't be bothered with the abuse and things like that. It's made a lot worse. I think when you look across, there's not really the mega issues over here that can't be dealt with the processes of yellow cards, red cards, sin bins, discipline procedures. But there hasn't been much out there. I've noticed this season there's a bit more of a drive on towards referee recruitment, which is good to see for a change. And it'd be good to see some younger officials like Tom coming through and starting to pick up the whistle. One
of the big things that always comes up is, referees can be subjected to abuse in games, whether it's here on the Isle of Man or elsewhere. So how do you combat that? How do you get round that fear? I think, first of all, getting over it is by picking up the whistle and giving it a go and realising that a massive part is communication. Communication's with everything. If you're at work and you don't communicate properly, jobs don't get done properly. If you're on the pitch, I tend to find if I'm communicating with players and I'm explaining decisions, the grief stays down because they can't answer when you've explained the decision, when you've given them the reasons why. I
agree with Rob. It's all about communication. I think I could get X amount in a game wrong, and if I don't talk to them, if I just say no, don't talk, then that's where problems start to rise. I could make 100 mistakes in a game. If I just explain, maybe have a laugh, just put my hands up sometimes, just go, sorry, I'll try better next time. Basically, I've got that wrong. I've missed it. I've been watching something else. I'll keep an eye for next time. You just explain decisions and play. You can have a laugh with players. If a player misses a shot and he balloons it over the bar, that's a mistake. I'm not going to shout him for it. I might make a joke, and then maybe next time he'll think, okay, he's made a mistake. But everyone makes mistakes. That's the thing. So it's about how you deal with those mistakes. It's not about you've got to be 100% accurate. If you make a mistake, then you're going to get abused. It's not that. Everyone makes mistakes. It's about how you deal with those mistakes.
If we continue to find ourselves on the Isle of Man in a situation where numbers of officials are a concern, whether it's just this season or particularly beyond that, just how much do you think could it impact the whole system of Manx football in the long run?
Massively, because think about how many people play football on a Saturday afternoon or used to play football or are involved with football. Think about the media, people who do reporting on it or do the photos or playing. Loads of people are involved with it. And at the end of the I know that we've heard the saying before, no ref, no game, but it literally is true. There's 20 games or however many on a Saturday afternoon. If we don't have 20 refs, then those games aren't going to go ahead at least to the same standard, if not at all, because how many spectators want to stand in and referee a game? Not many. So if we don't have refs, then the games don't happen, the photographers don't come down, the media doesn't talk about it as much, there's not as much to talk about for you guys on a Saturday night, so it'll impact the game massively and we'll feel it right the way through.
If you went to look at the extremes, I think you could lose FC Isle of Man because, let's be honest, if games aren't going ahead in the week, how can Paul Jones pick players? How are the players when they're recovering from injury? How are they going to get back? How are you going to get new players coming in to replace the players that are stepping away? So you're not just affecting the lower levels. You could potentially, I'm not saying it will, that's the extreme. You can affect FC Isle of Man. You can affect being a part, looking at your kids when they're coming through the younger age groups. They're not going to have any referees. They're not going to have any football.
Referees Tom Halliwell and Rob Slinger there, and the Isle of Man FA will be holding a referee course for anyone interested in potentially getting involved on the 12th to the 13th of August at the Bowl in Douglas, and anyone interested in signing up is asked to find more details and get in touch with T Crowe, so that's CROWE, at bhwprintgroup.com. That referee course on the 12th to the 13th of August. Well, sticking with football, and FC Isle of Man kick off their new NWCFL Premier Division season this weekend when they welcome Wythenshawe Town to the Bowl tomorrow night at 6 p.m. After a busy pre-season schedule, the Ravens will be hoping to get their new campaign off to the best possible start in front of a home crowd tomorrow against the side they beat in the last game of last season. Paul Jones was made the club's manager on a permanent basis this summer after holding the post on an interim basis for much of 2022-23. I caught up with him this week to get his thoughts on his side's pre-season preparations and his hopes for their curtain raiser at the Bowl on Saturday.
It's been a really good pre-season. It's been just over 5 weeks long and those 4 official fixtures, but we also managed to play against the Isle of Man select national team ahead of the Ireland games to help them prepare a little bit. So we had a couple of games against them. We had another in-house 11-a-side game. So we feel like the players have got good minutes in their legs. We feel like we've been able to build and develop the group from a physical point of view and a game understanding point of view over the last 5 weeks well. We've managed the load, so touch wood, we've not got any real injuries that we're dealing with. So we've got a playing group that are fit and flying and really ready to go and attack the season. The hard work's done, so to speak, from a pre-season point of view, and we're all really excited and looking forward to what awaits in the months ahead.
Let's then just take a quick look at the personnel in the squad. There's been a few changes, some in who, as you've mentioned, coming into the setup for the first time. Some of the maybe more experienced figures that don't appear to be involved this time. So what's been the thinking behind that?
Sometimes it's the player's decision to be involved or not, and sometimes it's my decision, and it wouldn't be fair for me to talk about any of those in any sort of details. So once we had an understanding of how that looked, then we're looking at the makeup of the squad. We had a group of players 28 and older and a group of players 19 and under, and there's a group of 23, 24, 25-year-olds on the Isle of Man who are very, very good, and we thought we would be wise to get them involved in the club, and then you've got a really nice kind of pathway then in place, and as some of those more experienced players have other things that go on in life, whether it's work, family or otherwise, that means they can't commit quite so much. We've got a ready-made group to follow on behind them. So, we really wanted competition for places, and we feel like we've got 2, 3, maybe even 4 in some positions, people fighting for a shirt. We were trying to make my job as difficult as possible by having a strong playing group, which meant we had multiple selection decisions every weekend. That ultimately means I've got more people I need to keep happy, but hopefully we've really kind of got a good culture within the club. Everyone understands what it's about. Everyone's pulling in the same direction.
You look at the teams involved in this division this season. You've got teams that were strong last season but didn't go up, but particularly some Northern Premier League teams coming down into this one as well. Just how strong is the opposition going to be this season? Is it stronger than last season, would you say?
Arguably, yeah, because of those 4 clubs kind of coming down from step 4, and Skem have come down because of ground and grading stuff, not because, they finished mid-table, Ramsbottom, Glossop. They're clubs that have been at that level for quite a long time, so, we'd expect them to be pushing hard. And some of the clubs that are up around the top half of the table last season will be trying to do likewise and push on again. So I think we're in a harder division in terms of strength and depth of the teams all the way down through the division this season. A lot of the clubs have made a lot of additions into their squads and training groups. A lot of those additions are players that have played at higher levels. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting challenge, and I think we're more than capable of standing up to it.
Wythenshawe Town coming up this weekend, this season starting as the last one ended. This was the fixture that concluded last season. Yep. Your side had a great end to the last season, 5 straight wins, some of them up against teams like Wythenshawe, who were pushing for promotion around that time. So How do you, I guess, try and repeat something like that against one of the teams that really was one of the big hitters in the division last season?
Yeah, there's a bit of expectation around, isn't there? Not just within our group, but also maybe the supporter base and the island, that we can go and push on again, which is fantastic. But we talk about earning the right. We can't just turn up on Saturday and think that because we beat them 3 months ago or whenever it was, that it's going to be easy to do it this time around. They're almost a completely different club in many ways. They've got a new manager, they've got pretty much a fully different training and playing group, so it'll be a very, very different challenge to the one we faced at the end of the season. So we've got to go and concentrate on what we do well, and we've got to stop them from doing the things that they would like to do. And we managed to get somewhere close to that towards the end of last season, and that's the challenge, isn't it, on Saturday, is hit the ground running, make sure that we're connected as a group and we stick together no matter what happens on the pitch, but hopefully also the supporters in the ground stick together with us, and we can generate some really good momentum and positivity around the football club. And if we can do that, then our performance levels will just kind of keep kicking on, I think. So yeah, it's about remembering what we're good at, in short, to your question, and focusing on that and not trying to get ahead of ourselves just because we had a good end to last season. It doesn't mean we're going to have a good start to this one, but it does give us a bit of a template in terms of what we need to do, and we need to not stray too far away from that template over the next kind of 2 or 3 months.
FC Alabama manager Paul Jones there ahead of their curtain raiser in the NWCFL Premier Division, the new season this Saturday. And it's high time to remind you that if you're not heading down to the Bowl for this big season opener at the weekend, we at Manx Radio have got you covered. We will be providing full live match commentary, myself and Tony Mepham of FC Isle of Man versus Wythenshawe Town tomorrow night, Saturday at 6 p.m, and it'll be available on Manx Radio's crystal clear DAB and also the AM 1368 channel. We would love to have you along with us.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, looking elsewhere now, a big week lies ahead for the Isle of Man women's T20 cricket squad, who'll be putting their skills to the test in international competition over the next week. They'll travel to face Austria in a bilateral series on Sunday and Monday, before taking part in the Women's Continental Cup in Romania from Friday to Sunday next week. I spoke with team captain Alanya Thorpe and her teammate Lucy Barnett about how they're feeling ahead of this latest exciting challenge.
I think we're all really excited to go out there. The bulk of the squad has stayed the same. We've had a few people come in and a few people go out because of injuries and unavailability and things like that, but I think we're all just really excited to go out and get stuck in again, especially now that we've trained together for over a year. And I think one of the advantages we've got as a squad is that we do get to spend quite a lot of time together, whereas in a bigger country, I mean, one of the countries we're playing is Greece, for example. I can't imagine that squads in other countries get to spend quite as much time together getting to know each other and training as much as we do.
And Lucy, just on that point, the fact that the squad isn't changing all the time like you might get with other nations, do you think that is a real benefit, that you're all constantly training and playing together as a team that isn't changing all the time?
Yeah, I think getting an understanding of what players in your team can do and being able to support what they can do is a really strong advantage we have.
And Alanya, with the games that the team has had so far, what are the biggest lessons, do you think, as a squad that you've learnt at this early stage?
Well, as a squad, we've only played 4 international matches, and I think we walked away from that and thought about what we'd done well, but also what we wanted to improve on. And I think one of the things we've all done is gone away and played a lot of cricket locally. Lots of us have played senior cricket as well as the women's softball on a Monday, and we're all really, really keen to learn and improve. And I think Spain was a real eye-opener for quite a lot of us. I mean, we've got lots of players in our squad who play lots of different sports. And I think when we went to Spain, we all suddenly realised how much there is about this game that we've still got to learn. And rather than backing away and going, oh, actually, this is a bit too much of a challenge, everybody's gone, right, OK, we want to do this, we want to learn, we want to get better. And certainly personally, I've learnt loads from playing senior cricket over here. And what's great about cricket on the Isle of Man, I think it is very welcoming and very inclusive. I don't think any of the girls have been made to feel out of place when they play senior cricket whatsoever. And I think it's just that experience of game time. You can't really put a price on it when you're then going out and playing international cricket.
Turning, I guess, to the series we've got coming up, Lucy, obviously coming up against a range of different nations that you won't have come up against. So whether it's just for you personally or as a team, if you've spoken about things, what are the main objectives around this?
I think as a team, it's going out there, getting some wins and seeing whereabouts or development is against other nations and getting that T20 ranking that we want.
The fact that once you've played all these games, you'll be in a position where the Isle of Man women's T20 squad will have an international ranking. How important is that going to be going forward to try and get you more games and into more competitions?
I think it's such an exciting prospect, and it's massive for an island that's got a population of about 80,000 people. To be up there with countries that have got populations of millions is outstanding. I think a credit to the girls and to all the hard work that Sally and Greg have put into growing cricket and growing the game over here.
Alanya Thorpe and Lucy Barnett of the Isle of Man women's T20 cricket squad heading away on international competition next week. And preparations are now well underway for the new Manx rugby season, with Isle of Man teams set to start their new campaigns from next month. But after a turbulent rugby calendar last year for several reasons, how might this new season look for both the domestic competitions and the island sides competing in the UK leagues? Well, here with the latest update is Manx Radio's rugby correspondent, Dave Christian.
Work on the national fixtures for England Rugby, which the Isle of Man is part of. That all starts probably early June. I mean, no sooner has the dust settled on the season than the planners and organisers are starting to plot out what the fixtures could look like for the following season. So for men and women's rugby, those teams competing in the English Clubs Championships, or the leagues as they're just more commonly known. Those fixtures have been out for a little while now. For Douglas and for Vagabonds men, the season's fairly cast in stone. For Vagabonds ladies, however, I'm expecting a few changes to their fixture list. So we'll start with Douglas. They held their water last season in Regional 2 Northwest. They finished with a lower mid-table position is probably the best way to describe it. There's been an inevitable summer reshuffle, but very little's changed for Douglas. A couple of teams pulled out because they were promoted, a couple been relegated, and we have two new bedfellows for them, Whitchurch and Kirby Lonsdale. Whitchurch are down in Shropshire, and Kirby Lonsdale obviously north of Lancaster, which kind of highlights the difficulties Douglas will going to have with the range and travel, and probably in the wider scope, the higher up the rugby pyramid you go, the bigger the distances and the more difficult travelling becomes. So Douglas, there they are where they are. I don't think they're going to be too fazed by either of those. They have a 12-team league and fixtures get underway for them on the 2nd of September with the visit of Furwood Waterloo to Portashee. Vagabonds men, well, they were in Counties 3 ADM last season. And after what I'm going to describe as an indifferent showing, they finished next to bottom. They find themselves in Counties 4 for the new season. I'm going to say they technically, if they were in Division 3 and you're now in Division 4, you've been relegated. However, when I look at the composition of Division 4 for the new season, there seems to have been something of a reshuffle because Ellesmere Port are down there now in Counties 4. And they finished 6th in Counties 3 last season, well away from the danger zone. So there's been some sort of reshuffle or restructure of the leagues in the Merseyside area. It is only a 9-team league. And Vaggers get underway on the 16th of September with a visit of Colne and Nelson. Vagabonds ladies, they're continuing to fly the Isle of Man flag in the women's national competitions. They get underway on the 23rd of September with a trip to Chester Divas. They're in women's NC1 Northwest, the same league they were in last season. They finished 5th. They had a number of close results and they weren't too far away from a much higher placing. Vagabonds ladies looking pretty positive. I haven't heard any team news or news of new players, but that same group of players are obviously very close. With a good summer's training and a good pre-season behind them, they could well feature for us in the top end of that table when the season gets underway. Underneath the leagues sits the individual county cups. Cheshire County Cup, as Isle of Man clubs are part of Cheshire RFU. The county has 4 competitions: the cup, the plate, the vase and the bowl. And we've got 4 Isle of Man sides lined up to have a go. Vagabonds, because they're only in a 9-team league, they've obviously wanted to gain some extra fixtures. They're in. Southern Nomads are in. Ramsey and Western Vikings also in as well. Vaggers have their game. First fixture is on the 27th of August away at Duckenfield, which is a difficult place to go. Southern Nomads also away on the 27th of August with a fixture at Oxton Parkonians. Both of those fixture dates yet to be confirmed. In the Cheshire Plate, Ramsey and Western Vikings both taken part. Ramsey face Prenton in that 27th of August weekend, and Western Vikings got a little bit longer to wait in their side of the draw in the Cheshire Plate. Their first game is against Port Sunlight, and I have a feeling that's round about the 7th of October. That only leaves the domestic rugby, and obviously Douglas and Vagabonds still both participating in the English Clubs Championships. We'll have to wait and see whether or not they're able to get second teams out, and the structure of the local competition will depend largely on how that works with the second teams there at Portishead and Bellafletcher, and of course the relative strengths of the other sides as well. So we do know that the Manx Cup finale to the season was really, really good last year. That's likely to stay in place with Douglas Vagabonds, Southern Nomads and Ramsey all taking part. I suspect if we've got enough players and there's enough commitment to it, we might just get a Manx plate out, and I think we might just see a Ravenscroft Manx plate at the tail end of the season. And in between and arranged all around those Cheshire fixtures, we're probably going to see some sort of domestic league competition, the format of which is still with the organising committee.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, finally tonight, let's take a look at what some of the Isle of Man's junior competitors are involved in this weekend. Taking a look at hockey very quickly, the Isle of Man has 5 Manx hockey players who will be heading to the UK this weekend to take part in a prestigious tournament. They'll be taking part in the England Hockey Talent Academy Festival, which is being held at Nottingham Hockey Centre this Saturday and Sunday. They'll be involved in the Northwest fixtures of that tournament. 3 involved in the women's fixtures, and they are backers players Claire Mason and Martha Broderick, as well as Ella Blakemore of Harlequins Hockey Club as well, and 2 in the boys competition from the Isle of Man. They are Archie Cox and Joseph Savage, both of Castletown Hockey Club. And also taking another look at football as well, and specifically the Isle of Man under-16 boys squad. They're going to be heading away this weekend as well for some international competition. They're taking part in the 2023 Britannia Cup in Chester on Saturday and Sunday, coming up against squads from the likes of England, the USA and Nigeria. So to all those junior competitors going away for their respective competitions this weekend, we wish you the very best of luck. That's all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week. Many thanks to my guests this week. Have yourself a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend as well. So from me, until next time, it's bye for now.